it was clear to me listening to some of the entrepreneurs that we were seeing common denominators across the globe. It didn't matter whether it was a poor or rich economy. We were seeing, a general notion that being lean as long as you can be with a startup really made sense. So finding a way to do it without having to take on too much outside capital or without having to, shall I say, give up any equity in the early stages. Very, very important. It's clearly emphasized that venture capital is not a silver bullet and that venture capital is considerably less important to entrepreneurs than I think has previously been thought by governments and others. Clearly also this is a team sport, and this is about the sort of organic evolutionary process of developing an idea, and you go through this iterative process until you get the formula right. But part of that process is a constant dating process that goes on among the co-founders of these young firms, even in their nascent form. And so there's a huge movement, actually. We're going to be doing a lot of work among all of our global teams on co-founder dating, for example. How do they actually find the right people? Because that's actually one of the hardest things that the entrepreneurs told me in Liverpool. But, a lot of the time they would find that they had failed because they'd had arguments with their co-founders, or they had a mismatch in any way of either capacity, capabilities, or style. So, and then I think finally, that, the other really important aspect of this is that it is a messy environment, and we have to allow networks to make sense of that environment. We can't have people who are good managers come in. This is not a field for management. It's a field for creative people. And certainly I think that has become more and more evident in what we're seeing around the world. So I think you are seeing governments racing now to figure out, how do we intervene in the right way, where we set the rules, we set the incentives, and we are important to the equation. We're important to an entrepreneurial or a startup ecosystem. But what's the best role we as government or we as policymakers can play? And of course, the answer I give them is essentially, you've got to really keep your finger on the pulse as to what are the barriers that are in the way of those early first 5-year stage entrepreneurs, and clear those barriers. You've got to make it as easy as possible for them to succeed, to have global talent come from anywhere, to have minimal amount of taxation that might force them to go and to take more outside capital, make it really easy for them to bootstrap, make the regulatory environment easy for them. So get rid of as many of the hurdles so that you allow them to focus on birthing that new enterprise. And certainly I think this is beginning to resonate among some of the more insightful leaders. This is what I think is truly exciting, because it's not just about forming companies. What it's about is teams coming together and solving problems. And many of these problems are problems that have been intractable for decades. And they're using the marketplace to do it. But their motivations are not necessarily to make money. In fact, very few people, most people I see who their motivations to make money, but people went into the financial services sector and said, let's come up with an innovative new venture in the financial services sector. And, I for one, anyway, am not particularly excited about setting entrepreneurs loose in financial instruments. Maybe we'll get back into the troubles in 2008. I'd rather have them figuring out other vehicles for improving lives and clearly kind of building our economy. So some very exciting things going on, and I'm hugely optimistic about who these people are and about their potential. And for the field overall is now something that I've often described as being much more profound than it used to be. It's no longer something of simple commercial significance. It's something really that for me, signifies the possibility of a human endeavor for the benefit of all.